Malcolm-Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family in Costa Rica.
Cosby Show star Malcolm-Jamal Warner's life suddenly and shockingly ended over the weekend. You can see right now there's a red flag blowing in the wind here. That is a warning that people should not be swimming in the...
You mean to tell me not a single outlet, not TMZ, not ABC, not even Costa Rica's own local press, mentioned the most crucial part of the story for 3 whole days? Malcolm-Jamal Warner's 8-year-old daughter was right there in the water with him when he drowned. And nobody said a word? The story was way too clean. And then, out of nowhere, they casually dropped the bomb that his daughter saw everything. That changes everything. If she was there, then there were screams, there were witnesses, someone had to yell for help. So why didn't we hear any of that? Why was that completely scrubbed from the headlines at first? Where's the video? Where's the chaos? Where's even a single phone recording? It's 2025. Every public beach has at least one person filming something. But somehow, on a sunny day at a public beach in Costa Rica, with a literal TV icon in the water.
You know she was black?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yes.
I'm like, yo, I got black dar, so we see it.
Yeah.
But it's, I'm like, I can see where a lot of people be like, I
yeah.
didn't know.
The great thing is that she knew.
She knew.
There's not a single camera in sight? That's not just suspicious. That sounds like a whole setup. And let's not ignore the timing. Just days before, Malcolm had dropped his most raw, most vulnerable episode ever, calling out the industry for how it pretends to support Black artists while secretly working against them. And now, he's gone, face down in the water. They tried to brush it off as a freak accident, but we've seen this kind of accident before. The silence around this is screaming louder than ever. Because now, people aren't just asking what happened, they're wondering who made it happen. At first, the story sounded simple. Malcolm drowned while swimming on vacation. End of story, right? But not even a full day later, the plot thickened. A second person was suddenly involved. A 35-year-old unidentified man was now reported to have been with Malcolm in the water. Wait, what? Where did he come from? They gave no name, no background, nothing. And guess what? He survived. He made it out just fine while Malcolm, a healthy 54-year-old man in solid shape, didn't.
Black excellence and like black love. Like when you put black in front of it, it makes it a subset of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I started, having this argument with him, not argument, with discussion about the history of black soldiers, for the first time, it made me think of black excellence in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like because black excellence now is attributed to fame and money.
Never.
So that's been my issue.
Never for me.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
But now when I'm looking into the story, like black survival in and of itself is black excellence.
Because we've always had to supersede, do better, and more things have been put in our way to cross.
That makes no sense. Still, no mention of the daughter. Still no witnesses, no camera, no answers. Just one big blurry mess. And just when things were finally calming down, boom, here comes twist number 3, the one that blows the whole thing wide open. Suddenly, they admit that Malcolm's 8-year-old daughter was there the whole time, in the water, watching it all go down. This wasn't looking like some simple accident anymore. So why did it take 3 different versions of the same event just to reveal the full story? Let's break it down. The first report, dropped Sunday night, said Malcolm-Jamal Warner was found unconscious after swimming. That's it. No second person, no drama. Then came the second version on Monday morning. Suddenly, there's a 35-year-old man in critical condition too. Still no mention of Malcolm's daughter. Then, out of nowhere, version 3 hits. Surfers had apparently rescued his 8-year-old daughter from the water. It just keeps getting messier. According to Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Agency, their final timeline straight up contradicted both the local police and even the US media reports. They claimed Malcolm was playing with his daughter near the shore, then left her behind and went swimming with a friend. But hold up. Eyewitnesses are saying his daughter was actually caught in the rip current and had to be saved. Both versions can't be true. So which one is it? Now let's talk about the beach. Playa Grande, Costa Rica. It's beautiful, sure, but it's also got a rep. That spot is notorious for dangerous rip currents. It's even been flagged on travel blogs as one of the riskiest beaches on the Caribbean side of the country. And on July 20th, the day it all went down, the ocean was wild. The waves were unpredictable. Supposedly, red flag warnings were posted all around. But here's what doesn't sit right. If those warning flags were so obvious, why didn't a single early US news report show them? None of the initial photos from the scene showed any English language signs. Everything was in Spanish. And look, while that makes sense locally, it raises a real question. How is an American tourist supposed to understand serious warnings if nothing's posted in English? Especially when he's with a young child at a known danger zone? Something's off. Way off.
You can find at least one reason to smile. And if for some reason you can't find a reason to smile, then that's probably the best time to be the reason for somebody else to smile. So, find a smile for yourself and be your reason for someone else to smile. That's all I got.
Days later, boom, TMZ suddenly drops a crystal clear pic of a red flag warning sign in English. But hold up, that image was nowhere in the initial coverage. It's like someone slid it in later, trying to clean up the narrative. Like they wanted to say, see? He should have known better. But the Malcolm people knew. He wasn't wild or careless. He was smart, quiet, intentional, and above all, he was a dad. So now we're supposed to believe he saw all these warnings, ignored every single one, and just casually walked his daughter into the danger zone? Come on, that doesn't line up with who he was at all. Or maybe that's just the version of the story they want you to believe. And then there's the mystery man, the so-called ghost in the water, this 35-year-old guy who was reportedly swimming with Malcolm. They were caught in the same current. Malcolm died. The man lived. But then, silence. No interviews, no public appearance, no name, no face, not even a grainy, distant photo, nothing. And here's where it gets extra strange. Malcolm's wife was reportedly there too, on the same trip. But she's gone completely quiet. No statement, no sighting. We don't even know if that unnamed man was American or Costa Rican. He's just been reduced to a man. That's it. Now flip the situation. Imagine Malcolm survived and the mystery guy drowned. You think they'd let him stay nameless? You think they'd skip the headlines and skip the blame? No way. His name and face would be everywhere by now. So why all the secrecy this time? Now here's the wildest part. 3 doctors were reportedly on the beach when it happened. Tourists. They tried to revive Malcolm using a defibrillator. That means at least 6 adults were involved in the aftermath. And somehow, still, no one caught a second of footage? No beachgoer, no doctor, not one person recorded anything? And even the one doctor who did speak out did it anonymously. Like even being present at the scene was dangerous. What kind of accident makes people scared to talk? What kind of drowning has folks acting like they signed an NDA? But here's what really flips the whole timeline, what Malcolm was doing before all this went down. Just 2 days before his death, he dropped an episode of his podcast, Not All Hood. At first glance, it felt deep and introspective, just another honest convo about Black identity. But now, fans are calling it something else entirely. Some say it felt like a coded message. Others are calling it a farewell, a warning, a goodbye. It started calm, but then Malcolm went in, talking about how the media rewrites Black stories, how the hood always gets the blame, and how real survival should be seen as the true success. Not fame, not clout, survival. It hits way harder now, especially knowing what came next. Let's keep it real. Malcolm's podcast wasn't mainstream. It wasn't backed by Spotify, didn't have big promo deals or a fancy marketing team. But it had something way more powerful: truth, raw, unfiltered authenticity. And people were starting to notice. The numbers were climbing, the conversations were getting deeper, and that growth? It scared the industry. Malcolm wasn't just out here venting, he was teaching, dropping knowledge that made the wrong people uncomfortable. And Hollywood? Crickets. No shout-outs, no collaborations, no press, nothing. Because Malcolm didn't play by their rules. He wasn't safe. He didn't fit their shiny, filtered version of Black success. He was bringing up stuff they'd rather keep 6 feet deep. And that last video he posted? That one was different. There's this moment in the podcast where Malcolm brings up Meghan Markle. He doesn't diss her outright. He doesn't need to. He hits hard with just 7 words that shifted the whole tone of the episode. He wasn't praising her. He was peeling back the layers, saying, without saying, that she knew the game, and still chose to play it. Because what Malcolm was really calling out was how Hollywood loves a sanitized black story. Something polished. Something that doesn't ruffle feathers. Something they can sell. And Meghan? For all her elegance and charm, she became the face of proximity to whiteness. Safe, marketable, palatable. Meanwhile, Malcolm, he wasn't getting cast in royal fairy tales or glossy magazine spreads. Let's talk about his career for a sec. This man was Theo Huxtable, a whole icon, one of the most loved TV characters of the 80s and 90s. He could have milked that fame forever, but instead, he walked away. He turned down scripts that painted black men as broken, criminal, or disposable. No thugs, no addicts, no mystical sidekick roles. If it didn't feel right, he passed. And instead of chasing Hollywood dreams, he created his own lane. He produced films tackling mass incarceration, deportation, and police violence. He took his voice and built something real, a podcast from the ground up. No filters, no sponsors to please, just facts. That's the Malcolm the public didn't get to see enough of. And now, it's starting to feel like that wasn't by accident. Malcolm wasn't just an actor. He was a student of life. He studied spirituality, fatherhood, and what it really means to be a man in today's world. He dropped spoken word albums, poured truth into his music, and even won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance, something most folks don't even realize. And that's exactly why his death hit so hard. Because the ones who ignored him while he was alive? Suddenly, they were front row at his funeral. Even Bill Cosby's camp spoke up, saying it reminded him of losing his own son. Raven Samani broke down crying on IG Live. She said, "Words can't even describe the pain." But all of them? Too late? And Malcolm? Sadly, he's just the latest name in a growing list. There's a pattern here, one that's disturbing. It's like every time someone starts speaking truth, they don't get to grow old. Chadwick Boseman was quietly fighting stage 4 colon cancer while calling out Hollywood for its whitewashed roles and toxic portrayals of black men. He was donating millions to research and starring in films that redefined the culture. Da 5 Bloods, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and then gone. Nipsey Hussle wasn't just rapping, he was building. He bought up property, pushed for black ownership, exposed how the LAPD was targeting black-owned shops. And then he got shot dead in broad daylight. Michael K. Williams, a raw, honest legend, spoke openly about trauma and abuse in the industry. He warned people about spiritual manipulation happening behind closed doors. And suddenly, he's gone from a fentanyl-laced overdose in the middle of New York City. Prince, one of the loudest voices against the music industry. He called out label control, told black artists to own their masters, and fought hard for freedom. Then out of nowhere, found dead in an elevator. And now, Malcolm-Jamal Warner joins that list. Meanwhile, the ones who stir up chaos, who live off scandals and controversy, they get whole specials, documentaries, redemption arcs. But Malcolm, a man who gave 4 decades to the industry, gets a quiet goodbye? Nah, they say he drowned. They say it was just the current. They say his daughter's screams weren't caught on tape, that the warning signs were clear, that the silence means nothing. But here's the truth. Good men don't just vanish like that. Not without questions, not without resistance. And now, his daughter wants to speak, and when she does, everything changes, because we're not done. Next time, we're exposing the final 48 hours, the deleted texts, the calls that never got answered, and the last people to see Malcolm alive. So don't miss it. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to Juice Alert. We're bringing the truth, no filters. See you in the next one. Stay locked.